Okay, so hi everyone. Thanks for joining us or inviting us this morning. As I said, my name is Callie and this is my colleague Kate. And today we're going to take you through our experience of what was a wild idea last year to try one-off volunteering in response to changing behaviour we had seen both at Little Village, but also across the board, and how eventually this has become part of our core offer of volunteering.
So just to give you some context, if I just tell you a little bit about us and what we do. So Little Village is a network of baby banks supporting families and children under 5 living in poverty across London. So we pass on great quality clothes, toys, equipment, safe sleeping spaces to make sure that people and children have the essentials they need to thrive. So we have 3 main baby banks around London, one in Camden, one in Tooting, one in Brent. We also have a sorting station in Southwark and a big warehouse in Wandsworth. So thanks to this structure, we're currently able to reach families living in 32 of the 33 London boroughs. So on top of these essential supplies, we also have a signposting and guidance team that connects parents to wider support networks. So our volunteers really are at the heart of our operations, so much so that we have 69 members of staff, and many of them are actually part-time. But while in comparison in 2024, we had 734 regular volunteers and over 1,000 what we call one-offs and corporate volunteers. So we have a few different volunteering roles that are often evolving. So we have some volunteers that work on site to support our family shop and appointments, as well as incoming donations. Outside of this, we also have volunteer drivers who help us deliver the bigger kit items, so like the cots, the prams, the buggies, as well as volunteers who offer telephone-based support to the families. At Little Village, the volunteer team sits centrally, so our role is to build and support the infrastructure around volunteering. So that includes recruitment, onboarding and training and engagement. So the day-to-day management of volunteers happens directly on site and that doesn't sit with the volunteering team. So where Little Village is relatively still quite young, we're not even 10. So for the first few years, we were entirely volunteer-led. It was during the pandemic that we saw our biggest growth as a charity, so recruiting more staff and volunteers. This was due to being recognised as part of the crisis response to helping families in poverty, which meant that we had to access funding and opportunities unique to the time. So during the pandemic, like most other charities, we saw increased volunteer activity, which impacted the way that we organised our operations. So after the pandemic, this didn't continue in the same way. We noticed a higher number of no-shows, so an increasingly difficult recruiting for regular volunteers, a tendency to sign up and then leave only after a few sessions. So the volunteer behaviour was changing. We also recognised some internal challenges at the time, so some specific times of year when we would see a drop in numbers of regular volunteers, particularly around term time, summer holidays, Christmas period. So by the end of 2023, the numbers of volunteers were dropping so much that it impacted our day-to-day operations. So we had to start thinking about an alternative to take back the control and to intentionally create those opportunities for volunteers to volunteer during those low peak times.
We were also very aware of broader trends in volunteering, as I'm sure much of you in the room have been, and the seemingly disheartening figures, such as 28% of adults reporting doing volunteering in 2024, being a 45% decline over the past decade. And time again, we hear similar barriers: work commitments, childcare, and in general, people's busy lives, meaning they can't always commit regularly, even if they want to help. And that's not to mention the many hours of informal volunteering that we know happens every day. So it's not necessarily seen as volunteering. We know that people want to help, there just aren't the opportunities for them to do it in a way that fits in around their lifestyle. And of course, every charity still needs and relies on regular volunteers, but we stopped and asked ourselves, how else can we supplement those regular volunteers with even more people to come in when and where we need them the most in a way that actually works for them? So for us, that's really where one-off volunteering came in. We saw it as a way to address some of those barriers, create some more flexibility, lower the time commitments that we were asking, and offer a gateway, a taster in many ways, for people to get involved, particularly those who were taking the first step. But I mean, I think before we break down the steps that we took to pilot and eventually launch this at Little Village, there are some common myths, mostly negative, around volunteering, many of which we heard at Little Village. So we're just going to take you through what some of those were. And the first really was, is it worth the time to train someone who's only here for a day? And we absolutely get that. You know, why invest resource if they're only coming in once? But we're seeing a ripple effect from industry experts right through to regular volunteer conversion, which we'll go through in more detail in this session. And it's actually really short-sighted to think that their impact is only when they're physically volunteering, because we're creating a much bigger group of community advocates for Little Village. And the roles are designed to add value straight away with real entry-level tasks and tangible outcomes. So the short sessions are adding up to thousands of hours of volunteering a year. And at the heart of it, we know that every hour contributes to a family getting what they need.
So will they even turn up? This one surprised us too. So our attendance rate holds steady at 73%. So we think it's pretty impressive for something that's often viewed as low or no commitment, especially compared to when we're looking at our attendance levels with regular volunteers. So it's easy to sign up, it's easy to show up if it's done right and structured well.
But won't they just get in the way? Our sites definitely felt this panic at first. They've got stuff to do. What if one-offs just slow everything down? And we'll take you through the steps we took to structure those roles and their activity to make sure that it was contained and purposeful each time. So volunteers knew what to expect, staff were ready, and we were confident with a plan on the day.
Staff don't have the time to manage more volunteers. So we heard this a lot at the beginning, and honestly, it's a fair point. That's why we were strategic with the dates that we offer. It's not every day or even every week. It's when we need them, when we have the space to host them, and most importantly, when it boosts the capacity and doesn't drain it. So we plan our one-off days around busy periods to give extra support, not extra workload.
They won't be committed in the same way. Well, actually, we found the complete opposite, with our staff now saying they much prefer one-off volunteers to other groups and corporates. And that's because they're self-motivated. They want to be there. They're keen to support, but for whatever reason in their life, they can't commit regularly. They searched us out by choice. They're not there for one day because it's mandatory, like a corporate session, or feeling fatigued and complacent, as some regular volunteers do. They genuinely want to be doing what they're doing. They're connected to the cause and they want to help. So those are some of the things we heard. So those are some of the mysteries solved with a little insight. But we're really here to talk about what worked at Little Village, what we did and where it's got us to now. So how did we start to do this? Well, we had to make a few key changes for it to work. And the first was really looking at the roles. So our original on-site volunteering was a bit of a catch-all, everything from donation sorting through to supporting families. And if you were on site, you were labelled simply as that, an on-site volunteer, without structure for activity or training. And we knew that just wasn't feasible when looking at one-off volunteers. So we split the role into two. We introduced our baby bank helpers, who focused on family-facing tasks, and they had a need for more comprehensive training and supervision. But underneath that, we also introduced our pick and pack volunteers, who were donation focused. So they were looking at sorting, packing, quality checking, and these tasks, as crucial as they are entry level. If you can clean a pair of shoes or notice a stain on a dress or test out a Peppa Pig puzzle, then you have all of the skills that you need for that role. The activity is simple, it's structured, and it's ideal for people that are joining us just for a few hours because there is no experience necessary. So, for example, you can see here Sally, affectionately known as Sally Shoes at our Camden site, and she's become the go-to footwear expert. And she is a great example of somebody that didn't have any prior experience, but now has become an expert in her own little field. And an added benefit for us splitting the roles also helped us when recruiting and supporting and engaging with other volunteers too. So whether that was our under 18s, those who wanted to volunteer at evenings and weekends, corporates, or even people that didn't feel they had the confidence to work with families, by splitting this role in half, we were able to talk to and attract them with much more purpose by having a role that wasn't family focused. So we asked ourselves two key questions: what tasks could add value without risking quality, and could they do this without training? And that's really where we landed on this role split for pick and pack. And we've already been working to simplify our general onboarding, but we knew for one-off volunteers, it had to be even easier. Our approach was simple: easy to sign up, easy to show up. And we started by asking ourselves two key questions: where could we simplify it without losing the key data we needed? And what would be good enough for us to just give it a go? We weren't trying to build a perfect system. We just wanted to test the idea. So we focused only on what we truly needed. So basic contact details, emergency information, relevant health conditions, and how they found us. And that really was it. It was as simple as one form, and then the team would send a confirmation email. By team, I mean Kate, with the basic information about the day, the site, and alongside our volunteer handbook. We created a set of template emails for confirmation and follow-up to make sure everyone had a consistent experience. And we were really clear about no experience needed. It was just some enthusiasm and a pair of comfy shoes. And because their activity was confined to just one task, just the sorting, we were able to share existing guides and resources on the day, as well as staff knowing how to hold a briefing and what to say, because they were doing activity that already existed. And it was a very light touch process, but it made it easier for everyone. So volunteers felt really welcomed without heavy admin. Staff could stay focused on existing delivery and process, because it didn't have to be perfect. It just had to work well enough for us to learn as we were going along. And we made a very intentional decision not to open the opportunity to everybody straight away. Instead, we started with targeted invite-only approach. So we focused on people who had already shown an interest in volunteering with us, but had told us they couldn't commit regularly. So it included those with limited availability, those that kept asking us for evenings and weekends. It included the requests we got for CSR groups and CSR individuals, and also just people that really wanted to come but had told us they couldn't sign up each week. And in the past, we'd lost these people. We didn't have anything to offer them, and now we did. Now we could keep that conversation going, and we could invite them into Little Village. But we didn't just want to fill the slots. We wanted to learn from this group. So we explored with them what was their barrier to signing up, what would make it easier for them to sign up in the future, what were they looking for, and really whether we could offer any of those things. And what it gave us was real-time insight into a completely different type of volunteer, one that is motivated but is time poor. It isn't the desire to give that's waning, it is the ability to give. So together with them, we were co-creating an experience that worked both for them, but also worked for us. And this is just a couple of quotes from someone at Tooting that came along to a day. And I think I draw your attention to the bottom line. For my first time doing anything like this, it has inspired me to volunteer as much as I can on a regular basis. And that's what we're offering people. We're offering people the chance to try it, the chance to see how it feels. So for us, a big part of the work was getting buy-in from our teams. As Kate said, we sit centrally. We're not on the ground every day. And getting buy-in from them was the only way it was going to work, because they would be the ones hosting the one-off days. They would be the ones welcoming these volunteers. So while we knew the pick and pack role was suitable for one-off volunteers, staff still had valid concerns, and that was mainly around feeling overwhelmed by people that weren't trained or, in their eyes, wouldn't be as committed as their regular volunteers. So that's why we started with a pilot at our Brent site, and we were really deliberate about holding it at our smallest site. Because it's the smallest and because of its location, it's typically the hardest for us to recruit for, which meant the need was really clear and the staff were much more open to the idea of trying something new. We kept the group sizes small so we could quickly get feedback. We were able to tweak things live and respond in real time. And we positioned it to staff as a test and learn, not a permanent change. But pretty immediately, the team here saw the benefits of extra hands at the right time, and with the minimal fuss and their mindset shifted, our Brent site became the biggest champions of the project, and they were cheerleading us to the rest of the teams and sites. And it was really that peer endorsement that helped us broach the other sites about one-offs. In honesty, some of them came to us before we'd even had the chance to offer it to them. And we know that peer-to-peer support and endorsement works much better than it coming from us sitting centrally in HQ. But the process also needed to work for our teams. We couldn't ask staff to manage a new system on top of a new model. So we launched it really simply using a Microsoft Forms for sign up, and we managed all of the bookings and tracked all of the applications simply within Excel. And that is still what we're using now. So to log attendance and hours, we created a dummy record in our database, and that allowed site staff to stick to their original processes, not having to learn something new, and record hours in the same way. So the combination of a phased pilot, these staff champions, and simple systems are really what gave us proof of concept, and that the momentum came with that, which enabled us to then scale across Little Village.
So as Kelly mentioned, the staff at the other sites were excited to try the one-off sessions after the success in Brent. So in a similar way, we held a couple of test dates at each of the other sites to make sure it worked just as well. So with the consistent positive feedback and staff on board, we made the commitment to integrate the one-off volunteering as part of our core offer. So reassuringly, from even the earliest of the days, we saw the high uptake and conversion rates with minimal promotion. People were hungry for this type of opportunity, and we were really excited to offer it. Then at the end of 2024, something else happened that really helped us kick off things more seriously. Thanks to a really successful campaign, we were overwhelmed with far more donations than usual. So feeling positive about the one-off volunteering, we saw an opportunity to strategically map additional one-off days across the sites for bigger groups and more often. So we realised we could be deliberate about this to cover the periods of high activity, whether it's seasonal or after a campaign. One of the great benefits for one-off days is having the control of when we host them, so only when we need them. This helps with the staff planning, capacity, volunteer numbers, and recruitment. We've used this to map multiple dates across all of our sites from now until the end of the year. This decision to commit meant we were able to start properly recruiting externally, not just only invite as before. So we created specific one-off flyers. We added the opportunity to the front page of our website, at local volunteer centres, on university portals, as we know that this is really popular with staff and students, and just really get it out there as much as possible. So we also used it as a chance to invite our existing volunteers to visit different sites for the day, or to give remote volunteers the opportunity to come on site and help. This was incredibly popular. We see an ongoing high amount of our regular volunteers doing this, specifically at our warehouse, which previously hadn't been open to volunteers. So we truly continue to be surprised by the success of each date. Many of them are booked out as soon as they open, which is amazing. A few days ago, I asked Renata, our baby bank manager, to give me a quote about the one-off sessions for today. And this is what she said. So she said, "It's always wonderful to see our one-off volunteer days fully booked with people eager to help. These sessions have been a huge support, especially during busy periods or when we're short on regular volunteers. Our one-off volunteers roll their sleeves up and happily get stuck into all tasks around the hub. And the magic gets even bigger when some of them are inspired to come back as regular volunteers."
But all that doesn't mean it was smooth sailing completely the way through. There definitely were some hurdles we hit and challenges that we had to unpick, some of which we could see and others we didn't consider until they came up. But a few of the key issues we had put here. So returners, many volunteers wanted to return, and we began asking ourselves, well, do they still count as one-offs? Should we filter them through our standard onboarding as a regular volunteer? And ultimately, we agreed that yes, they can return, but we need a light touch conversion journey. So follow-up messages, invites to join a mailing list, and this needs to be developed. It's a priority for us at the moment. But it has made us recognise the real potential for this to be a pipeline of new volunteers. We did also notice some friction with regular volunteers. So some of our regular volunteers viewed one-offs as extra work. And we tried to shift this by really sharing the success stories and photos and focusing on how more hands mean less pressure. This reinforced the importance of how we talk about one-offs, both internally and externally, because it really does impact their experience and their likelihood of them returning. We also thought about safeguarding and age limits. So as there is limited training and supervision available to one-offs, we felt that groups of young volunteers were higher risk. So to mitigate this, we set the minimum age of 14 with an accompanying adult and set really clear ratios for groups of young volunteers. And that way we can still offer something safely and invite them in. There was also some confusion with corporates. So there was a concern that non-paying groups might dilute the corporate offer and undermine their paid dates. So we clarified this by making a distinction that corporates had exclusivity of the group and they also had choice of date and location, whereas the one-offs, it's open to anyone and they were on our set days and times. So it protected both models, but also helped manage expectations on both those sides. Alongside this, we also discussed group dynamics, so where requests for friends or groups of colleagues joined to us looking at how many people could come in at once, how we manage those sizes. I looked at how we managed accessibility. We also had to update policies to ensure they covered one-offs and how we supported those with additional needs. We had to acknowledge the operational effort involved in coordinating these sessions slightly differently and making sure that we were revisiting it regularly. It's still not perfect and we are still learning each day, but it is growing significantly and we're really enjoying developing it as it does.
So how's it going now? Well, from January to October this year, we've hosted 80 one-off sessions at our 3 baby banks and at the warehouse. So that was a total of 357 people that booked themselves in to join these sessions. So most of them we're still in contact with and getting in contact with Little Village for the very first time. So out of all the people booked, some had to cancel and a few didn't show up, but a total of 263 volunteers came and joined their sessions. So that still gives us an overall conversion rate of 73%. So this is now actually built into our KPIs for the year with a goal to host 60 volunteers a month for these one-off sessions. This would be the equivalent of 300 volunteer hours a month, meaning 3,600 hours in a year. So this will be 10% of the total number of hours donated by all our volunteers, which is pretty amazing. And we're already exceeding this. So let's just remember this was just an idea only a few months ago. On top of those numbers and the huge help that every volunteering hour gives us practically, we're starting to see the positive effects that hadn't been considered before. So, for example, among all the new amazing people that we're meeting at these sessions, there is a huge variety of experience and expertise. In fact, in the photo on screen now, you can see Nisha and Stefano, who are both offered to lend their professional skills within projects at Little Village. Nisha has a background in procurement and sustainability. So during her session, she was chatting to the warehouse staff about their difficulties with eco-friendly packaging. So from this, she's now working with our stock team as a skills-based volunteer to help develop new ideas. And Stefano, on the other hand, got chatting about scaling and growth, both, and so now he's offered pro bono support from his workplace. So both the full-time working professionals that wouldn't be supporting Little Village in this way if it wasn't for the one-off session. Other volunteers have offered to talk with their companies and send us unexpected financial donations and other corporate donations. For example, a one-off day we attended in January, I met Annie, an employee of Herbalife, who was so in love with the experience that she decided to ask her company to send us boxes of toiletries. Other people have started organising donation drives with their children's schools and gave us magnificent donations of clothes and shoes. One person even wrote a blog post about their experience and shared it on social media and within the wider company. So, but behind all of this, we're looking at the data. So specifically about how people are hearing about us. Knowing this is crucial to us being able to continue our one-off sessions and making them as productive as possible. So looking at the past few months' applications, we're extremely pleased to see that the majority of our applications volunteers found our one-off opportunities directly through Google and internet search. So we've worked hard on our website to include information and links to our one-off sessions in as many pages as possible, making sure we mention the use of CSR days too. Now Google search for one-off volunteering in London shows 3 sponsored results and then Little Village, which is amazing. So to mention, we hadn't put any money behind this. It's completely organic from updating the copy on the website and how a few other people are offering this. We know that not many charities offer micro-volunteering days, and it's really hard to find a way for employees to use their CSR days. So we're really happy that we can help. And with all the employees coming to us for their company volunteering days, it's no surprise that the second largest group of people said that they heard about this volunteering opportunity from work or from one of their colleagues. So word of mouth is still the best way to involve new people, and this is proving efficient in the workplace. The third largest group of people they noticed on our one-off volunteerings was on Instagram. So it's no surprise because we've been posting content about it at least once a month, and the word is spreading fast on social media. Other examples that were mentioned by our volunteers were their university, our website, a friend, or word of mouth. Local volunteer centres, and some of them have previously volunteered with us in the past and have donated their items before.
So that's where we are. Where do we want to go? So this slide brings together our ambitions for what's next. And there are 3 key areas that we want to develop. So that's the volunteer experience, impact tracking, and growing our opportunities. So under improve experience, we've already simplified the sign up and onboarding, but next we're going to be introducing bite-sized training so that one-offs can feel even better prepared and even more connected before they start. Long term, we'd really love to tailor their experience by their volunteer type. So for example, what a CSR group needs is very different from what a solo Saturday volunteer might be looking for. And under impact tracking, we are still using Excel and a shared dummy record, but even now we're managing to track attendance and log hours consistently. Our next step is to improve that DEI insight. So who is volunteering with us and who isn't? Are they different from our regular volunteers? And with a VMS in place, we're hoping to be able to track over time, not just who shows up, but who stays engaged over time. And alongside this, with our grow opportunities, we're already starting to plan some themed days. So can we introduce family volunteering, parent and baby mornings? Coming up, we'd like to create specific mailing lists and comms journeys to help those who want to return do so more easily. And eventually, we really love to offer leadership pathways to give returning one-offs a way to step up and support others taking on these micro roles. So yes, it is about scaling, but it's also about deepening the connection to Little Village and the impact of what they're doing, so that one-off volunteering isn't just one and done. It is one day at a time. And this is some feedback that Kate got into the inbox not so long ago from 2 volunteers that attended a one-off day. So they wrote a thank you email, but they also pulled together this image or this little post that was included in a newsletter that went around to their whole organisation. And you can see they put their own call to action there about coming along to a one-off day or making donations into Little Village. And we're increasingly seeing people do this more and more off their own back. And that's because they've had such an easy and such a positive experience when they're on site. So really, what are the takeaways from this? Well, we would say at first is to look at your activities, break down the role, divide the tasks that you can into simple standalone activities that one-off volunteers can easily get involved with. So think things like pick and pack, not running the show. So it's these low risk, high value activities. The easy to find, easy to sign up means it's easy to show up. So streamline everything wherever you can. Ditch the barriers, use basic sign up, template comms, review your training, and really have a look at what can be simplified. And I'd really stop and just ask yourself, what is enough to just get started? As well, start small, prove your model first. So test it on limited dates or sites, pilot it first. Get that feedback, tweak it live, and recruit champions across the charity to talk to others about their success. And don't forget to think beyond the day. It is just one day at a time. It isn't one-off forever. One-offs can and do become repeat helpers, and many really want to do this. So think they can become donors, advocates, community recruiters, even returning or regular volunteers. That single shift, that one-off activity, so often sparks something longer term. And know your risks. It is a new idea. It is a little scary, but just be upfront with yourself and the teams. What are the potential pitfalls? And think creatively about what you can do to work around it. Don't let it stall progress. Just alter your thinking and give it a go. And that's really it from us. Unless anybody has any questions, that was our experience of piloting and launching one-off volunteering at Little Village.